Your enemies are not just watching you rise, they're watching with disbelief. The ones who mocked you, the ones who smiled in public and dug trenches in private, the ones who threw words like knives and then acted innocent when the bleeding started, the ones who whispered behind closed doors, convinced that if they kept speaking long enough, somehow your future would shrink to the size of their bitterness. They are watching now. And what they are seeing is making them restless. Not because you hurt them, not because you chased revenge, not because you spent your days trying to prove them wrong, but because Allah honored you and they cannot do a thing about it. Allah says they plan and Allah plans, and Allah is the best of planners. Surah Al-Anfal 8:30. That is the truth they are learning the hard way. They thought they were writing the story. They thought their gossip mattered. They thought their envy had power. They thought if they pushed hard enough, lied long enough, or hated deeply enough, they could interrupt what was coming for you. But they forgot something fatal. The one writing your story is not them. It never was. And now they are watching what happens when a servant is carried by the one no enemy can overpower. They are watching peace land on the life they tried to disturb. They are watching doors open in the face of the one they tried to block. They are watching a soul they wanted humiliated become stronger, clearer, calmer, and more difficult to shake than ever before. And that is what is making them sick inside. Because nothing confuses a jealous heart more than seeing Allah continue to bless the person it wanted to break. So if you have been watched, envied, opposed, or quietly targeted, then this reminder is for you. Because there are some things your enemies need to understand. And maybe there are some things you need to remember. What Allah has written for you cannot be erased. What Allah has opened for you cannot be blocked. What Allah has protected in you cannot be destroyed by whispers, stares, rumors, or hate. So today I want to take you through 7 truths, 7 powerful lessons, 7 reminders that explain why the people who plotted against you are now forced to witness something they never wanted to see. Allah is still raising you, and no enemy can stop that. 1. What Allah has written, no enemy can erase. Before your enemies knew your name, Allah knew your story. Before they ever envied your light, Allah knew what that light would become. Before they ever whispered about your future, Allah had already written it. Before they ever made a plan against you, Allah had already decided what would reach you and what would never touch you. That is why the believer can breathe in a hostile world. Because the decree was not handed to jealous people. It was written by Allah. Your rizq, your openings, your honor, your healing, your protection, your rise, none of it is controlled by the one gossiping about you after you leave the room. None of it is controlled by the one watching your life with poison in their chest. None of it is controlled by the person trying to make sure your name is spoken badly in places you have never entered. They can plan, but they cannot decree. They can hate, but they cannot rewrite. They can stare at your life with sickness in their hearts, but they cannot erase what Allah already signed for you before the heavens and the earth knew your face. This is why some people lose their minds watching you still progress after everything they did. Because in their mind, your story should have ended by now. After the betrayal, you should have broken. After the slander, you should have disappeared. After the rejection, you should have become bitter. After the pressure, you should have collapsed. But you did not. And the reason you did not is simple. They were fighting a servant. They forgot the servant had a Lord. That is the part they never calculate. They calculate your weakness. They calculate your emotions. They calculate your circumstances. They calculate how many people they can influence against you. But they do not know how to calculate what happens when Allah has already written something for you and refuses to let it die. So understand this deeply. If Allah wrote success for you, no enemy can cancel it. If Allah wrote a door for you, no enemy can keep it shut forever. If Allah wrote provision for you, no person can starve you out of it. If Allah wrote elevation for you, then even the humiliation they planned may become the staircase that carries you upward. That is why you must stop acting like people hold the pen. They do not. Only Allah does. And once you understand that, the next truth hits even harder, because your success is not just progress. In many cases, it is Allah's direct answer to the jealousy they buried in their hearts. Your success is Allah's answer to their jealousy. Some people looked at your discipline and felt threatened. Some looked at your sincerity and felt irritated. Some looked at your ambition and quietly hoped it would fail before it became visible. Some looked at your peace and wanted to disturb it because they had none of their own. That is what jealousy does. It makes another person's blessing feel like a personal wound. They did not hate you because you were empty. They hated you because they sensed something on your life. They saw your direction. They saw your resilience. They saw that even when you were weak, there was still something in you that refused to fully die. And instead of saying, may Allah bless them, they let envy rot inside them. But here is what they did not understand. When you stayed patient, when you stayed humble, when you kept showing up, when you kept making dua in the dark, when you kept choosing Allah while they kept choosing poison, your success stopped being just a result. It became an answer to every jealous stare, an answer to every fake smile, an answer to every backhanded compliment, an answer to every person who secretly wanted to see you reduced. Because Allah sees what they hide. He sees the envy they cover with politeness. He sees the resentment they bury under support. He sees the inner sickness they disguise with social niceness. And when Allah decides to honor a servant publicly after that servant endured those hidden attacks privately, it is not random. It is a divine reply. That is why some of your success cannot be explained by effort alone. Yes, you worked. Yes, you tried. Yes, you stayed disciplined. But there was something else. Barakah. The kind of blessing that makes little become enough. The kind of blessing that makes a door open where logic expected a wall. The kind of blessing that places acceptance in the hearts of people who should not have noticed you. The kind of blessing that lets your life move forward even while your enemies were certain they had already damaged it. They do not understand that. They cannot. Because the jealous person always thinks in human terms. They must have cheated. They must have manipulated. They must have gotten lucky. There must be something I'm missing. Yes, they are missing Allah. They are missing the sujood no one saw. They are missing the tears that fell on a prayer mat at night. They are missing the sincerity that was never performed for applause. They are missing the repentance, the trust, the restraint, the quiet obedience that invited Allah's help into your story. So let them remain confused. Your success was never just about achieving something. For many of them, it became Allah's answer to what they carried against you. But here is where the story becomes even more dangerous for them, because when Allah decides to defend a believer, that believer no longer needs to waste their soul fighting every petty battle. 3. When Allah defends you, you do not need to fight back. There is a moment in every wounded person's life when the ego starts screaming. Say something. Expose them. Defend yourself. Make sure people know what they did. Do not let them get away with it. And sometimes there are moments where speaking truth is necessary, where justice must be sought with wisdom and principle. But a lot of the time, what people call defending themselves is really just emotional bleeding in public. They are not trying to protect truth. They are trying to satisfy pain. And that is exactly where many believers lose the higher ground Allah was giving them. Because while they are busy answering every insult, Allah had already promised something greater. Indeed, Allah defends those who have believed. Surah Al-Hajj 22:38. Read that again with your heart. Allah defends, not maybe, not sometimes, not if the enemy is weak enough. Allah defends. That means the believer is never as exposed as the world assumes. That means your silence does not always mean no one is speaking for you. That means your lack of public retaliation does not mean the case is empty. It may mean the matter has been handed to the one whose judgment never misses. And that is why some of the strongest believers are not the loudest. They do not answer every rumor. They do not chase every lie. They do not burn their peace trying to control every narrative. They stay clean. They stay focused. They keep their heart protected from becoming a mirror of the ugliness they were hit with. And while their enemies mistake that silence for helplessness, Allah is already writing a reply far heavier than anything words could have produced. Sometimes He defends you by exposing them. Sometimes by elevating you. Sometimes by removing you from environments that would have damaged you further. Sometimes by placing calm in your chest while chaos grows in theirs. This is why you must learn restraint. Not every battle deserves your voice. Some battles deserve your patience. Some battles deserve your distance. Some battles deserve your dua. And some battles should be left entirely in the hands of Allah. Because when Allah defends you, the outcome is cleaner than revenge, heavier than argument, and more humiliating to the oppressor than anything your wounded ego would have produced. And if you think that is powerful, then listen to the next truth carefully, because sometimes the hatred they keep throwing at you is not blocking your eyes at all, it is feeding it. For the more they hate, the more Allah can elevate. Not every person will be happy when you grow. Some people are comfortable only with the version of you that was confused, the version that needed them, the version that stayed beneath them, the version that did not force them to look at their own stagnation. But the moment you become more serious, more grounded, more spiritually awake, more disciplined, more clean-hearted, more focused, they begin to change. Their tone changes, their energy changes, their support starts shrinking. Their compliments start sounding sharp around the edges. Why? Because your rise is confronting something in them. Your discipline exposes their excuses. Your growth exposes their laziness. Your light exposes their hidden darkness. And instead of using your progress as motivation, they use it as fuel for hatred. But here is what is beautiful about Allah's justice. If you remain sincere, if you do not let their hatred corrupt your heart, if you stay focused on Allah rather than getting intoxicated by proving them wrong, then even their hatred can become part of your elevation. Why? Because hate often pushes you closer to Allah. It teaches you caution. It teaches you discernment. It teaches you to stop chasing approval from people. It teaches you how to find enoughness in your Lord. It strips illusions. It deepens your dependence on what cannot betray you. So while they think their hate is reducing you, Allah may be using it to build a version of you that is more mature, more stable, more prayerful, more protected, and more difficult to manipulate than ever before. This is why some of the people who tried hardest to wound you unknowingly became part of your training. They made you watchful. They made you stronger. They made you less naive. They forced you to learn what it means to carry pain without letting it rot your faith. And once that happens, the hate they sent no longer lands the same way. It still hurts, but it does not own you. It does not define you. It does not stop you. If anything, it starts revealing the difference between you and them. They are becoming more bitter. You are becoming more anchored. They are becoming more obsessed. You are becoming more focused. They are becoming more restless. You are becoming more rooted in Allah. That is elevation. Not always glamorous first. Not always visible first. But real. And when it becomes visible, their hate becomes even more painful for them because they are forced to witness the fact that what they were throwing at you never actually stopped the one who was lifting you. But now we get to the part that really unsettles them, because what makes them most sick is not just that you survived, it is that they cannot understand why you keep winning. 5. They cannot understand why you keep winning. This part drives them insane, because from their point of view, none of this should be happening. They know what they said. They know what they did. They know the doors they tried to close. They know the people they turned against you. They know the atmosphere they tried to create around your name. And yet, somehow, you keep moving. A door opens. a new opportunity appears. People start respecting you. Your peace deepens. Your work grows. Your heart becomes cleaner. Your reputation heals. Your faith gets stronger. And they cannot make it make sense, because they are using worldly logic to interpret a life that is under divine care. They think in terms of manipulation, image, connections, pressure, and strategy. So when you keep rising without using the same tools they rely on, they start malfunctioning internally. How is this happening? What are we missing? Why does it feel like every attempt failed? Why do they keep recovering? Why are they still being helped? They do not know that some people are carried. And when Allah carries a servant, the outside observer can only see pieces of the story. They do not see the dua. They do not see the trust. They do not see the nights you spent emptying your heart before Allah. They do not see the moments where you had no strength left except the strength He placed in you. They only see the result. And because they do not understand the source, the result feels mysterious to them. But it is not mysterious. It is barakah meeting obedience. It is tawakkul meeting timing. It is patience meeting divine opening. It is hidden sincerity producing visible fruit. That is why they cannot understand it. Their worldview has no room for the possibility that Allah may be actively writing for the person they try to erase. And that is why your continued rise is not just painful for them, it is humiliating. Because every new blessing, every new opening, every new layer of stability is reminding them that they were never in control. And now we reach one of the deepest reversals in this whole story, because the jealousy they aimed at you is not only failing, in many cases it is turning into a punishment inside them. 6. Allah turns their jealousy into their own punishment. Jealousy is a fire, and the first thing fire burns is the one carrying it. That is the part people forget. The jealous person imagines they are hurting you, but often the first person being eaten alive is them. They lose sleep over your life. They replay your blessings in their mind. They obsess over your progress. They compare, resent, whisper, monitor, and boil. Their heart becomes crowded with your name. And while they are spending emotional energy watching you, envying you, and trying to explain your rise away, they are neglecting their own soul. That is already punishment. Because jealousy steals peace. It steals barakah. It steals presence in worship. It empties the person from the inside. The Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, warned us about envy because it consumes good deeds the way fire consumes wood. Think about that. While the jealous person stares at your blessings and grows more restless, their own inner state decays. They cannot enjoy what Allah gave them because your life is haunting them. They cannot focus on their own improvement because your growth is distracting them. They cannot taste gratitude because bitterness has settled in. So even before any outer outcome arrives, their jealousy has already started punishing them. And sometimes Allah lets that punishment continue because it is itself a sign of what happens when the heart chooses resentment over gratitude. A sign of what happens when someone is shown another person's blessing and instead of saying Allahumma barik, they choose hatred. Meanwhile, look at the contrast. They are draining themselves on obsession. You are being taught reliance. They are losing peace. You are being given peace. They are decaying inside. You are being built. And when Allah adds visible blessings on top of that, more openings, more stability, more growth, more acceptance, then the punishment intensifies. Because now they are not only jealous, they are forced to watch the blessing multiply. That is why one of the most dangerous people in the world is not the one who envies you. It is the one who remains envied while staying grateful, humble, and connected to Allah. Because at that point, the jealous person is fighting something they do not have the spiritual capacity to defeat. But be careful, because this is the part where many people ruin their own elevation. If Allah starts raising you while your enemies watch, the question becomes, what are you going to do with that rise? 7. Your rise is not for revenge, it is for a higher purpose. This is where the believer must become very careful. Because once you start seeing Allah defend you, elevate you, and expose how powerless your enemies really are, the ego can creep in. It can whisper, show them, Make them regret everything. Humiliate them the way they tried to humiliate you. Use your rise to crush them. And that is where a servant can fall. Because if your rise becomes about revenge, then you have misunderstood the honor Allah gave you. Allah did not lift you so you could become a mirror of the very ugliness that wounded you. He lifted you for something cleaner, for gratitude, for service, for sincerity, for da'wah through character, for proving that patience, tawakkul, mercy and obedience produce a higher kind of victory than petty retaliation ever could. Look at Yusuf, peace be upon him. When Allah raised him after betrayal, slavery and prison, did he use his power to grind his brothers into humiliation? No, he forgave. That is not softness, that is rank. That is what it looks like when a servant understands that the point of divine elevation is not to become more arrogant than the people who once looked down on them. It is to become more godly in character. That does not mean becoming naive. It does not mean inviting harm back in. It does not mean pretending nothing happened. It means your heart remains too noble to let revenge become the center of your success story. Because your rise is not a personal movie about proving haters wrong. It is an amana, a trust. Allah is watching what you do once He puts honor in your hands. Will you remain humble? Will you remember Him? Will you use your strength to benefit people? Will you let your pain produce mercy rather than corruption? That is the real exam. And when you pass that exam, your rise becomes even more powerful. Because now it is not just visible success. Now it is worship. Now it is a sign. Now it is a witness. Now it is proof that the servant Allah honors does not need to become ugly in order to become victorious. Now let me take you deeper, because all of this means nothing if you forget the core of the matter. Your enemies are not reacting to your strength alone. They are reacting to what Allah is doing with you. There is a reason your peace bothers them. There is a reason your progress unsettles them. There is a reason your silence frustrates them. There is a reason your resilience confuses them. It is because when Allah places His hand of mercy over a servant's life, the world starts seeing something it cannot explain. They see someone get back up when they should have stayed down. They see someone become clearer after confusion, stronger after betrayal, calmer after attack, more focused after opposition. And they do not know what to do with that. Because the worldly mind can only explain worldly outcomes. It has no category for a person who keeps being helped by the unseen. And if you are listening right now while carrying pain from people who tried to ruin you, then hear this part with your whole chest. You do not need all the answers today. You do not need to understand why they hated you so deeply. You do not need to know every secret meeting, every private conversation, every message sent behind your back. You do not need to spend your life decoding every plot. What you need to know is this: Allah saw it. Allah measured it. Allah allowed only what would ultimately serve His wisdom. And Allah is never careless with the pain of a believer who turns back to Him sincerely. So do not build your life around your enemies. Build it around your Lord. Do not let their obsession become your obsession. Do not let their sickness move into your chest. Do not let their darkness become your identity. Stay with Allah, because that is where the real safety is. And now let me leave you with the truth they are being forced to learn, whether they like it or not. Your enemies are not just watching you rise. They are watching Allah keep His promise. They are watching a decree unfold that they were never powerful enough to stop. They are watching the one they spoke against become more honored. They are watching what they tried to bury become more visible. They are watching a servant they underestimated become protected, established and elevated. And if that hurts them, let it. Because your job was never to make them comfortable with what Allah wrote for you. Your job is to remain worthy of it. Remain grateful. Remain humble. Remain patient. Remain sincere. Remain close to Allah. Remain too clean-hearted to let bitterness poison what Allah is purifying in you. And when you do that, then their whispers become exactly what they were always meant to be. Background noise around a destiny they were never allowed to control. So hold this in your heart the next time you feel watched, envied, doubted, or quietly opposed. No enemy can erase what Allah has written. No jealous heart can block what Allah has opened. No whisper can drown out a decree from the Lord of the worlds. No plot can overpower the one who says be and it is. So go forward, not with arrogance, with certainty, not with revenge, with purpose, not with insecurity, with tawakkul, and let your life keep saying what your enemies now know too late. They were never fighting you alone. They were trying to stand in front of a story Allah had already decided to raise. And no one, no matter how bitter, how jealous, how calculating, how committed to your downfall, can stop what Allah protects. So keep rising with sabr, with shukr, with silence where silence is stronger, with dignity where dignity is harder, with worship in private, with gratitude in public, with your eyes fixed not on those watching you, but on the one who wrote your path before they ever heard your name. Because that is the final truth. Your victory was never in their hands. It was always in Allah's.